So everybody online is talking about how you need to own your masters. And for those of you that don't know what masters are, let's get into it. My name is Eccentric King, mixing and mastering engineer at Blink Mode Recording Studio. Now, obviously, this conversation about masters is not necessarily about independent artists, because independent artists, most of y'all own your masters anyway. This is mostly a conversation for label artists and how they feel that it's not fair that the label owns their masters for such an extended period of time, which is, I think, about 75 years that the labels own the masters of the artists that are signed to the label. Now, the rule about masters is relatively simple. Whoever pays for the creation of the master owns the master. I'll repeat. Whoever pays for the creation of the master owns the master. This is the rule. The labels pay for the recording studios, they pay for the mixing, they pay for the mastering, they pay for the production of the music. They own the master. It's really that simple. Now, it becomes a little bit more complex when you're an independent artist. So for independent artists, this thing works slightly differently in that, number one, a lot of independent artists are either booking studios and paying for studio time or not. And we'll explore these two avenues. Let's say you're not paying for studio time and you are recording from home or you're recording at a friend's studio. Those are two very different things. If you're recording from home, then you own the master. But if you're recording at a friend's place and you don't pay your friend or you don't have a written agreement, then your friend owns the master. And what that means is not that they own your song. No, they own the recording of your song. It's their property, right? Which means that they can do with it whatever they wish. And the only thing that they have to pay you is your publishing rights, the use of your song, of the underlying composition, the lyrics and the composition, the music, right? Let's get this very clear. So essentially, masters are like a piece of property, right? Let's say your talent is the equivalent of a piece of land. If that land is undeveloped, then it's not worth anything to you, right? And that's the equivalent of your talent. So there are two scenarios. You can take this land and build a house on it and live in the house, and that's not going to generate any income for you. It's still relatively worthless, and if anything, it's going to be an expense, right? Or you can build a house on your property, on this land that you own, and sell it. But if you don't know how to sell it, then you need to have a real estate agent that's going to sell it for you, and they get a cut off the sale, right? The third option is that you have a developer pay you leasing rights for, say, like an evergreen contract, which is about 100 years. To build something on your land, they pay you to build something and lease the land for 100 years, and then thereafter they pay you a piece of the profits every year, every month, whatever the case is, right? Now, these three scenarios that I've just described are the equivalent of an independent artist doing everything themselves, an independent artist utilizing third-party services to get their music to market and market their music. And then the third option is signing to a label, right? If you sign to a label, you are not going to own the masters, but you will own the intellectual property, the copyright, but you won't own the master, which means that you are still going to get your publishing royalties. And on top of your publishing royalties, you're still going to get a royalty for the use of the master, but the label owns the master because it's their master. They paid for it. They paid for the creation of that master. They don't own your song. They just own the recording of your song. Now, the next situation is, okay, great. You're an independent artist that is now, paying third-party providers to distribute and market your music. Now, those third-party providers work on either a fee or fee plus commission. Most of them work on fee plus commission, which means that you're going to give up, you're going to own the masters, but you're going to give up a portion of those masters to those third parties for them helping you find or get it to market. This is what publishers do. Generally, publishers will charge anything from 25 to 50% for sync placements and things of that nature, right? Now, if you want to be totally independent and own your masters entirely and not give anyone a piece of anything, then you have to do everything yourself. You have to find your own sync deals. You have to, you know, market and distribute your own music. And the reality is that most artists aren't willing to do that. So this is why I say that the conversation around masters is relatively overrated, because you always have to give up something. If you aren't paying someone or taking on all the responsibility, then you're going to have to give up a piece of what you own. Leveraging a piece of what you own. And that's the conversation around masters. And I think this conversation needs to evolve around ownership and understanding equity. Why is it that most of the big artists have sold their masters? Because if you don't know what to do with those masters, then they're useless to you. So leverage your masters in the same way that you leverage your talent. Yes, own your masters. Yes, own a portion of your masters. See how you work it out. But don't be limited to the thinking of, oh, I need to own my masters. Yes, you do need to own your masters, but maybe not entirely, depending on your situation. All right? My name is Eccentric King, mixing and mastering engineer at Blink Motors Recording Studio. Peace.